谢谢张志强教授精彩的发言，还有我们翻译志明的，也是很精彩的翻译啊。我们下面有请那个来自印度理工大学的所罗门·本杰明教授，他的发言题目是“城市想象的去殖民”。
So thank you, Professor Chan, for such a wonderful presentation. Next, we'll have Professor Solomon Benjamin from Indian University of Technology. His topic is refer to the table of the booklet. Where is that? Oh, Decolonizing the Urban Imaginary. Thank you.
You'll have to help me keep time. So thank you all very much and for inviting me here. There's a oops, maybe I'll. This is clear. Okay, let's see. We'll see how it goes along. Well, as some of you would immediately recognize it. First of all, I'd like to really thank all of you, Chen Yun, Aditya, Nivedita, and organizers in general, and also the translators in advance, and for doing such a wonderful job, and for all of you who are being here. Now, the slide that you see, and I'm sure that many of you would be able to pronounce it better than me, Shanjai, came up as, again, a category in the late 1998, 99, as something which, was being moved around, essentially around iPhones. Some of you do have them here, and their copies. But what is more interesting as some of the themes we've been just talking, and I'm grateful to the previous presenter to raise this point about the problems with this kind of universality, cultural nationalism, and in a sense, this will, I'll come back to some of these slides towards my end of the talk, where I say that when we take some of these terms literally, piracy, counterfeit, they miss out a whole range of practices which actually defy the nation, and it fits very closely to the previous presentation in that sense. Now, what I will be starting off with is, and to make life easier for the, yeah, sure.
谢谢大家早上的报告。那我今天要讲的，大家可以看到我刚刚的那一张幻灯片上面的字，大家应该都比我可以念的山寨。那就是这样子的一个概念出现在98、99年。那这个山寨这样的一个概念，就是可以让我在想早上我们在所谈的一个关于普遍性的问题。我最后会再次谈这个普遍性的问题。那不管是像是盗版啊或海盗这些概念怎么样，让我们再来想这个问题。
Yeah, thank you. What I'll be doing here is actually a project which a group of us have been looking at, mainly the East Asian Critical Geography Group. But it's not only geographers, there are a whole range of, it goes sort of into a whole range of people, where we've been trying to rethink urban theory, and particularly urban theory that we feel has come from North America and North Europe, which in today's power structures start getting mobilized in a very kind of violent way. So what Nivedita Menon and Aditya had talked about earlier, about the violence of certain categories, I think that's something that we as a group are looking at. I'm sort of very fortunate to be part of that group. And one of the other points I'll be trying to make in this, as several others have made here, is that to deconstruct this politics of violence is to actually start to engage with certain materiality of the process. Because only then we can try to understand the particular types of histories and the particular types of spaces that are created, and also how we start to categorize these. This is not there in the paper, so but I hope you can.
我在这里要报告的是，我跟一群其实是在东亚的批判地理学者，其实不止地理学者，就是一群人一起在进行的一个计划。那我们在做的事情呢，其实就是希望可以批判所谓的进行都市理论的批评。那这样的都市理论基本上就是从北美、欧洲等地方来的都市理论。那所以很重要，早上谈到的是我们现在面对的是概念范畴上的一种暴力。那我觉得很重要的事情是就是当我们面对这样概念范畴的暴力的时候，怎么样去处理这样的一种面对这样的暴力，其实是需要去处理很多的细节，在特殊的历史经验，在特殊的场域当中，而且这个物质性物质性在当中也扮演一个很重要的角色。
I'll be starting from a couple of slides which will try to emphasize the urban theory part, but as you see, I'll fairly quickly move to looking at illustration of this through the realm of economy and particularly smartphones, which almost all of you will have. And this can be seen in terms of as a metaphor to think about how we think about the city. And I'll also mention for some of you who would like to sort of explore this further, is that there is a very nice short, well not short, 1 hour documentary on Shenzhen, which is brought out by the Wired magazine, which in some sense is useful for us to look at because it precisely breaks down these categories that are used to describe these economies as a sort of container of citizenship, container of nations, container of non-pirated original groups, and also Shanghai being reworked into a term like sharing. But it's not sharing in a sort of romanticized way, but rather in the way that realm of electronics is practiced by people who converge in Shenzhen. So I think once we go through some of these material processes, these help us to come back to think about categories which go beyond the nation.
我在想说，打破这些既定的暴力的概念范畴的方式，我其实是透过一些非常具体的实践、非常具体的物质实践来阐释这个过程。那像是我们的每个人都在用的手机，那跟就是我等一下会有一个关于山寨的纪录片。那山寨这样子的一个概念，它如何打破了我们原来对一个经济一个是一个原生产者就是不是盗版的原版的概念，或者是打破就是这个以国家作为界限的这样的一个经济体的概念。那山寨的这样的概念里面也有一种共享的意思，有一种分享的意思。 那当然不是要去浪漫化它，对。
Yeah, thank you. I'll start with something that Jibesh Bagchi, who's there at the back, had mentioned a couple of years ago, and I think it was in the Delhi Biennale, where in their panel discussion they had talked about how the time of the contemporary was a sort of a contaminated realm. You know, there was this kind of ideal, and then this sort of a huge spectre of capital comes and contaminates it, and that's not very different from how one would see city life. Like there's a promise of a good city, an ideal city, but somehow it gets contaminated by, and this goes, by the way, across ideological positions. It contaminates the place, and the only way to represent it is like a, temple of doom kind of a scenario, something that is like a computer game or some computer games, apocalyptic kind of a situations where all forms of politics is dead, and there's no possibility of any form of life force, okay, or it will be dead soon in the next move in the computer chip, So, yeah, sorry.
我在这里是想要提一下，这个我要引用一段这个Bakshi 的话。那这是在几年前德里的一个双年展的时候讨论，对于一个什么是当代讨论。那他认为说，就是这个当代是有有一个是非常是我们的当代的都市生活是有一种是可以说是被污染的，就像是你有一个很好的关于都市的理想的计划，但是它永远是被污染的。
One of the, I'll give you two quick sort of common arguments being made. In one case, again, a group of people where we looked at this concept of, set in Hong Kong, a concept commonly used, gentrification, to describe some form of land transformation. Okay, and there immediately the particular term, which actually comes from a particular part of London at a particular time, starts getting moved on to Bombay / Mumbai, Hong Kong, and which shows that again the city is essentially this contaminated site. It's this gentrified site, and the lack of this is and particular to the Hong Kong case, and this came out in a major journal to which we are now having a counter, is that the reason why there's lack of political protest of a substantive type against this form of land capital is the fact that there's a sort of either there's a desire for money or this kind of spiritual being that is there. And is this kind of cultural sort of a container or the economic container which is then supposed to explain why in Hong Kong people don't protest about their rents going up or stuff like that, which is also, by the way, factually not true, but that's another story. In India too, should I?
我在这里提到一个例子是在香港，就是我们常用这个晋升化或是高级化这样的方式来形容，就是这整个都市翻新的一个过程。那在这样的过程不管在香港或是我们现在看到在孟买等等的地方，都在发生，就是所谓这个高级化的过程。那在香港当然是有一个这样的高级化的过程，就是也是它在污染，在摧毁一种我们的都市生活。那这样子的一种为什么在那里对于这个高级化的暴力的都市发展过程缺乏一些抵抗跟抗议的一些运动，是因为就是这样的解释常常是说因为一种金钱的欲望，或者是因为这个儒家思想的一种精神等等的。那就是好像想象了一个文化的一个容器里面有这样的一个东西。
in India too, yeah. Should I?
那这个当然，这个高级化、精神化的这个概念是从英国借用来的这样的一个概念。
Yeah, I think one of the, oh, I don't know why this became red, but anyway, maybe it was. I'm not sure how to do it on this computer. Oh, this is the next one. Okay. Okay, maybe we can. Anyway, but I hope you've, you know, the main point in this is that, I mean, while we are changing the colors, but it should. So both Nehru and Le Corbusier had this sort of dream of creating the new planned city, Chandigarh, and there are variations of this in other parts of the world. Brasilia is another example. And in a lot of this, the idea was to create a kind of a sort of a visionary space. It was highly nationalistic, and to, in a sense, erase out all that was there. And I think so. One of the issues in critiquing that is to rather to look at how one can take more concretely what is happening on the ground, and as an illustration of that, I mean, as a mode of that, both in the Hong Kong case, but also in Bombay, Bangalore, to an extent in Chennai, we found it useful to, in constructing a kind of a theory, to look at land issues in particular. Because land, in some sense, allows us to embed certain set of practices, have particular kind of histories, embed a particular kind of economy. It starts to root it in a way which the contrast to land of is that of master planning or mega planning, starts to create a kind of a container around it and disembed it from its sort of more complex stories.
在过去，像是在印度尼赫鲁梦想要建立一个民族的一个他就邀请科比意来在昌迪加尔建设一个非常理想的现代城市。那这样的这就是这样一个非常视觉化、非常视觉景观上非常雄伟的一个空间。那当然是展现一种民族性，一种那对于这样子的一种都市空间的一种批评，那我认为是要在一个非常一个草根在地的一个层次上面来讨论这样的一个问题。那就是我希望把问题集中在土地的问题上面，因为土地的问题它整个是根植于就是包括地方的经济、地方的各种社会实践的问题。那这个土地的问题就是也是对比于所谓的大的计划跟就是整个都市的大的计划。
In the next two slides, and then I'm going to, because I don't know how I'm doing on time, I may jump to the illustration. But the next two slides, one is on, I think, it's a kind of critique of this idea that, oh, if you look at, you know, or let me put it in a different way. If you don't look at land issues or any of these other quote-unquote elements in the material sense, then one sort of starts thinking of categories like political society and civil society, which many of you would have read the critiques. But particularly in a kind of cityness, they start to homogenize realms of politics which are put into a kind of a single framing of the state. And what that does is that kind of removes those realms of political space, which is connected to land, economy of the type I'm going to shortly show you, which actually become the very, very important material force. What that also does is, as you'll see in the next slide, is you start getting justifications for what we are now seeing, the UID, the digitization of land records, the financialization of a whole set of instruments. So in a sense, if you make a sort of conceptual leak, we can discuss this, is that you have this political society, civil society, lack of citizenship, and in this case, there's new writing which is coming up on what's called peripheral urbanization. So it travels from citizenship in North America, Europe, goes to Brazil, and then comes to India. So in a sense, this movement of some of these concepts start to feed particularly sort of a policy politics, which then starts to get materialized in the kind of realms that we are seeing today.
我想要说的事情是，如果我们不去看重这个物质实践层面的问题的话，那我们很容易就掉入一些大的范畴的分类。那像是在这里常讨论的是，所谓市民社会跟政治社会的一个分类。那所谓就是市民社会，就是拥有合法权利的，古典意义上来说，布尔乔亚社会这样子的一种拥有财产的人的一个范畴，那跟这个不是没有公民权的尤其在这里有很广大的没有公民权的许多人口在这个地方是属于政治社会的范畴。那如果我们没有在这个非常复杂的而且对这样的范畴，基本上也有像阿迪提亚跟尼维蒂塔也对于政治社会跟市民社会这样子的一个对比跟分类范畴，也进行了在政治上的一个批评。那我想说的事情是说，就是在物质的实践层面上面，其实我们看土地问题的时候，是有一系列非常复杂的过程。那包括了我们现在印度面对的就是正在大量的推行，就是单一的身份证。在过去大家没有单一的一个身份的制度，那现在正在推行单一的身份证。那还有就是这个土地登记的数位化等等的，那这一系列的物质实践都在影响这个过程。那这一些我们借来的概念范畴，或者是这一些大的概念范畴，也都一直就是譬如说从英国借到香港，借到巴西这样子的概念，也的理论概念，也就透过一个政策的一种政治，就进入了就是进入了一种物质实践。
So now we'll quickly go to some of the slides. I must ask Chenyu or someone how much more time I have, because I've sort of lost track of the. Here, 6 minutes. Okay. Here, what you'll see is the image of Shenzhen, and and it's a classic image of modernist planning. So if you can, imagine the images below is of the electronics market, which was a kind of reworked old industrial districts. And the reason why I'm showing you this is that the actual materials working of Shenzhen happen not in the first part, which was the big advertising right from the 90s to the early 2000s, as that's the way to go. For example, in Chennai's special economic zone, the idea was that that could become India's Shenzhen, and the image they were talking about was the one above, not the one below. So this is the big kind of materialization of the categories that link a particular kind of global modernity, the nation state intervening, as well as a particular kind of legitimate citizen who's supposed to be educated in a particular way, who is backed by lawyers promoting copyright and its financialization. So I'll just show you the next slide, but if you or should I?
我在这里就是那个放的这个深圳的照片，那上面的是就是这个深圳高度的现代性的一个画面，但是就是实际上这个底下这个华强北路的这个老的电子市场，就是在老的工业区生产的这些电子的用品是一个实际在地发生的一个情形。但是当我们在这里我们在清奈的特别经济区的时候，我们所看到的画面是想象的是上面这个高度现代的一个的深圳，那就是透过这样的一个方式，这个它发生了一个全球的连接。
So if you think about the three things that were mentioned in the previous presentation about cultural nationalism, territory, race, and a particular kind of history, what is applicable to either of these two is completely different, because especially in the, just to make a point, because we are going to see some phones in the next 2 minutes, the people who are redoing the engineering, they certainly do not come from the institute where I'm involved in, which is too much of a high-tech institute, plus they don't know the English to get into it. But also it's interesting, and here there is an interesting issue that what we've been researching, where many of them are going every 3 months to Shenzhen without knowing Chinese, but the way of engaging with the markets in Shenzhen is through the language of technology. So in a sense for them, the nation is okay, you got 1.5 lakhs in your bank and you can get a visa to mainland China, and there's an agent to get you there. So it's working the system, but not in the categories of political society and civil society and being good citizens. In fact, they are quote unquote corrupt because they are having a tout and paying a bribe. So they're definitely bad citizens in that sense. So, so in a sense, I think that the kind of categories that are coming out of the nationalistic discourse would feel, and that's not surprising, extremely threatened by this kind of set of connections being made by different groups of people.
我刚刚是听到这个关于文化民族主义，那它需要一个清楚的一个领土跟历史这样的。那在我说的例子里面，就是将在我就是真正在生产这些所谓的手机产品的人，就是真正在时间上面、物质时间上面做这些东西的人，并不是真的是像我所来的这个印度理工学院这样子的人，因为真正在做的这些人，他们也没有办法，他们也不会英文，他们也没有办法进入这样的机构，而是就是有许多的人，那他是可以，很多人不会中文也会跑到深圳去，那他只要有个10万块卢比，那他就可以获得一个签证，然后就跑去深圳。那在那里，他们彼此交换的一个语言就是关于科技的这些语言。那当然就是把这整个民族国家的疆界，某个程度上也是穿越那个疆界。但是这些人当然在另外一个意义上来说，是一种 一种腐败，就是他是被认为是一个不合法的一个坏的公民，那对，那就是不是在这个民族主义式的想象里面的这样的一个东西。
Yeah. I think I probably have 2 minutes or 1 minute left, so we'll see 2 slides just as a illustration. This is what I've been putting together in terms of the kind of representation of these groups who are re-engineering or reworking, servicing some of the smartphones like what you may have, or these are older models. And I don't know if you can see it in the shading. The red part are the ones which is you can't do much about, because that is how the phone manufacturers at this point of time, when we had opened up the phone, it's a kind of a black box. But the rest of it, you can certainly modify and rework. But I'm talking about this point of time because when these people go to Shenzhen and they're meeting representatives of the manufacturers, these boundaries get recreated. So I think some of the issues we were talking in the morning, where there is a constant dynamic in terms of how we see, quote unquote, the nation being created, that is materialized in these spaces beyond ideas of citizenship or piracy, because it is being co-produced. And the learning, by the way, you can see one is a YouTube video which is on the top right-hand corner, which we were using so that we got to know how do you open up a smartphone. But for them, they don't need to go that because they already know that. But they use the websites below where, based on what has to be fixed on the smartphone, you get a live circuit diagram and you put in a request, and 2 minutes later, you get a response from someone in Brazil. You use Google Translate to translate from Portuguese to English, and then you fix your thing. So what I'm trying to say is that suddenly you're having a society where these earlier concepts of how the world is supposed to be built and connected suddenly becomes extremely threatening for those who would like to create the container of that nation state.
我在这边这几张照片是一个关于
，OK，
一个例子是在这里，就是修手机，这是一个比较旧的一个 model。那这个就是在这个手机拆开的时候，我们看到红色的部分是在生产的过程当中，你大概修理的人没有办法做太多的一个地方，因为它就是很多可能精细的、秘密的不了解的东西。那其他的其实你可以做很多的事情。那在这些去深圳来来回回这些人，那其实你在这个小小的手机里面，就看到这整个物质实践当中的就是所谓的疆界划定是怎么透过这个物质实践发生的，哪一个部分是就是是这边界到底是在什么地方？那就是另外的照片是那现在当然也透过这些人也透过架设网站，那在印度跟巴西的人，他们就可以透过这个网站上面告诉你说怎么拆开一个手机，修一个手机。那在几分钟之内，关于一个如何修手机的问题，就可以在英语、在葡萄牙语之间获得翻译。那这整个技术的物质性，就使得这整个边界都变得非常的不一样。
I'll just end with this slide, but mention a related point, which again comes to a broader issue. Very briefly, this slide just is to do what I did in our center, is to open up something like, I think, 15 phones from models of 2000 to 2014, and to analyze these phones in terms of how do these, how do these get modified. So it's not getting into the survey type of question, which is which part of your Apple phone is made where. Because if you ask that type of question, what you're really doing is a policing and a mapping of what part gets where and therefore what you can control. Whereas if you put the question in a different way about what you're able to do with it, and the people whom I put the question to are basically people who are actually doing the surveyors, all the servicing and re-engineering. So I made a short film of them and then a translation from Tamil to be able to understand how come, especially this person on the right, he's able to go to Shenzhen, negotiate and come back and rework a particular product where we can't say where exactly that product was being made. Okay, so there's no, so in a sense, you're suddenly confronted with a kind of a fluidity which doesn't fit into the usual kind of describing the, informal sector and all the rubbish, those kind of terms, The other thing I want to mention is when I was in EVU, thanks very much to Chen Yun here and the people I met there. It was interesting when they described EVU as a historical place, how the markets came, their descriptions, their categories included words like or describing some of the clans to which they belong to. So I think this is the other point that was made in the morning of the discussion, where in terms of this mistranslation of family into clan and a lot of those become very important to understand the humanness of this process. And I think that's something that why we've come back to getting into this very material process, all these dismembered phones like some Hollywood horror movie. So, because unless we do that, and then we trace it back in EVU or wherever in Shenzhen, we won't be able to rework what are the categories in not just Mandarin, but the local dialect that is spoken in EVU, which is also different. So I think that is the other really interesting part about, reworking categories. It's quite an exciting process. Okay.
我这张图片是我的一个计划，那我就是在我们清代的理工学院里面，我是去看这个从2009年到2014年这些就是这些被拆开然后重新修理、重新就是 service 的这些手机，那怎么样？我们在看这里面的每一个过程当中的时候，我不去问一个问题是说什么零件是在哪里做的，因为问这个问题就永远你就调回原来的这一个这个边界的这个想象当中，而是去问到底这个当下就是我可以在这个东西上面做什么？那等一下我要放的一个影片是右手边这个人他是一个做手机 service 的一个人，那他到深圳去回来，然后等一下这个他在整个影片当中他怎么样说这件事情是完全打破了一个什么东西，就是可以说得清楚什么东西是在哪里生产的这样的一个逻辑跟想象。那当然还有就是我上次到义乌去的时候，跟陈云在义乌碰面，那在义乌的时候，义乌当地人怎么去说关于他们的家族或是什么，就是那我们刚刚提到的，就是那整个想象跟他们的整个描述，都是非常的非常的复杂。那我们刚刚也谈到了这些东西怎么样被 一种错译到像是clan 或是 family 就是这样的概念当中。
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.